Rupal Chandy, international entrepreneur and best-selling author, Rupal Chandy.
Great to be with you, Melissa, and good morning, Houston.
Hey everyone, I think we are live.
Yes, we are. All right, we'll be talking English today, but we will talk really slowly, because there are people who are joining from different countries. Go ahead, Adam.
Sure. Yeah, I'm so excited because I've known you for some time, and I don't think we have had any opportunity to talk this way. I mean, it's public, but I have a lot of questions to ask you, so I'm excited.
Sure.
So okay. So during the last class, you were talking about the like all the great minds have a book, right? To take down their ideas.
Okay.
Yeah. So they have a lot of ideas in their head, and same thing. You will also have a notebook of your own where you take down your notes. Right? So when you have multiple ideas, how do you choose what to work on?
Okay. So let me make sure that those who are listening who haven't been to one of my events understand what Adam is talking about. One of the concepts that I said in a live event was that people who really are committed to a project or an entrepreneurship or an idea, they always keep a journal, physical or electronic journal. And then like Faraday, Einstein, like people who really achieved big in their space, they always had a journal. So the question is, how do we work on what is so what is most important, and how do you figure out what to work on? So I get dozens and dozens of ideas every day. A lot of them might not be business. So idea need to be processed like a manufacturing plant. Imagine there is a manufacturing plant where we had a manufacturing small plant next to my house, which is a coconut processing plant. You put coconut in, and then at the end you get oil, and there will be some waste product as well. The same way, when you have an idea, you are actually seriously thinking, is this a business idea, or is this a reference idea, or is this a humorous idea, or is this a life lesson? What is the kind of idea that we are getting? That's the first step. And if it's a business idea, then how big is it? So because we are talking about business idea, how big is it? Is it worthy of doing, let's say, $1 million a year, or $10 million a year, or $100 million a year? For me, at this stage of my life, in order for something to be interesting for me, I must feel that it's worth at least $100 million or more in terms of the revenue it could produce. Otherwise, I'm not interested in it. So if somebody brings me an idea, if somebody share an idea with me about a company, about an opportunity, the first thing that I'm checking is it's at least worth $100 million. Does that mean we are going to get $100 million? We don't know, but that's how I filter it. And from there, then we don't jump in right away either. There is always a project that we are working on right then and there. And then in my case, I'm a single dimensional guy in terms of operations. It's because I don't want it anymore. At this age, I don't want to be operating multiple companies and focusing on different things. My skill is like helping businesses to scale, and I want to stick with that. So which means that I will not get involved in another company's operation. So then the question is, how would I get into an organization where I could hire a CEO or partner with a CEO, partner with an operations person who could actually run the company, so I don't need to be in the day-to-day grinding of the business. So that's how I decide which ideas to work on. And I reject 995 of the 1,000 ideas that comes to me as business ideas.
That's good to know. That's good to know how you think about ideas and what value it brings to the world. So the next question that I have is again related to your way of teaching, and it's mostly related to soul, whereas others will be talking mostly about mind. I've seen you connect with the soul. That is through the motion of your body along with your mind. You'll be using visualization techniques as well as activating your mind at activating your body at the same time. So during that uh, process, we'll be breathing through the forehead. So I would like to know what's the scientific reasoning behind, visualizing that you are breathing through the forehead.
Okay. So Adam is talking about a breathing technique that we developed. Actually, we developed that technique. Um, the imagination is you're imagining breathing through your forehead into your heart, and then from your heart you're breathing out through your forehead. That's the imagination. And and the question is, why am I breathing through the forehead? I have a nose to breathe through. So human body, if you think biologically, it's approximately 80 to 100 trillion cells. So it's a collection of cells. Each cell has its own intelligence. Each cell is complete in its intelligence. That, think about it this way: when you are born as a single cell, the entire that cell has the blueprint of your uh, eye color, and the fingerprint, and the color of your hair, and the face, and length of your nose. Everything was in that cell. Just like that, each of these cells have intelligence. So these cells are so human body is a collection of intelligent cells. So what does that mean? It means that it is working in synchrony to create an outcome, whatever it is, like maybe talking through mouth, or like looking at you, or listening to you. So the cells that are more intelligent. So my metaphor uh, there is, imagine there is a classroom where um, where the kids who are really really smart, they sit in the front bench, right? And then they, like, it used to be like that probably. I was sitting in the back bench most of the time. So the kids who are really really smart, they sit in the front bench, and the teachers always talk to them and stuff like that. The same way, the most intelligent cells moved from other parts of the body. When I say moved from, they didn't actually move. I'm trying to metaphorically explain this, to the head part of your body. So the highest intelligent cells in your body are in your brain for the most part. And in that brain itself, there are different layers. There are some primitive part of your brain, there are emotional part of your brain, there is a memory part of your brain. Wherever I'm touching, that's where it is. And then there is the conscious part of your brain. So the higher you come in your brain, like the further you come to the front bench of your brain, the higher intelligence these neurons, which are the cells in your brain, exudes. So essentially, these brain cells can actually think about thinking. The higher level order thinking is coming from the front area, which is scientifically known as mid prefrontal cortex. Daniel Siegel, a neuropsychologist, he made this term called mid prefrontal cortex. So essentially, that's this part of area. Hindus used to call it, like this be the important part of like any human. So it's validating that concept of Hindu philosophers who said this is the most important part of your body, right? So the same way, this part is capable of so many things, but one of them is thinking about thinking. So which means consciousness. And you said about mind. Mind is thinking. Mind is a tool that we use for processing information, and it is used for thinking. But your soul has a lot to do with this part of your brain. I don't know where your soul exactly is. Don't ask me that question. I haven't figured that out. So if there is soul in your body, it's somewhere close to here too. It is definitely connected to this part of your brain. So which means that if you are paying conscious attention to those part of your brain cells, and attentively like imagine breathing through forehead, what happens is the cells in that particular area are activated. when those cells in that particular areas are activated, you become more of a human. When you become more of a human, you become more courageous to do the things that you have the potential to be doing. Otherwise, we are living as an animal who's afraid of snakes, who's afraid of failure, afraid of rejection, afraid of whatever else in the world, afraid of darkness or light or height or whatever. And we are living as a responding, reactive animal to a proactive human. So that's the shortest explanation I could give you on that.
So is this something that is called as third eye or awakening? Is it related to that?
Okay. Um, there is a major paradigm shift in the way I think about awakening. I believe that every human is awakened. I believe that every human is awakened, but they don't know that. Just by the fact that humans are alive, just by the fact that humans can think about thinking, we are awakened. But we don't know that. Yes, being able to think about thinking is imagination. You're imagining thinking, right? So being able to imagine thinking means you could create. If you could create, you're part of God, you're part of the consciousness. If you're part of consciousness, you're awakened. Awakened meaning you are not dreaming anymore, meaning when you're dreaming, you don't know you're dreaming. But when you're awake, you remember that you had a dream. That is thinking about thinking, which can be done here. So which means I strongly believe that there is no complicated journey towards awakening. Every human is awakened, but you don't know it yet. Yeah.
Thank you for that. That's a very good explanation um, for awakening. Something that I haven't heard before.
Sure.
Yeah. So the next question that I have is regarding the economics. So where you live, you're in US right now. It is a capitalistic country where capitalism means essentially we try to maximize the profits of the investors. And when it comes to other countries, there are other systems that are mostly socialistic in nature, right? Where the people together control the economy. That is the concept of socialism. Correct me if I'm wrong. Okay. And I heard you speak about social capitalism. And is it your vision for the economics of the world? If not, what is then ideal economics for the world?
So the opposing ideas is part of human development. So capitalism originally was not from US; it came from Dutch. Dutch came up with this idea of capitalism. They had the first stock market in the world, and then there was like the London stock market, and then US took over that idea, uh, and US became the symbol of capitalism. Capitalism has a lot of benefits and a lot of advantages. It's a beautiful system. It actually helped the world a lot in creating a lot of value. The benefit that capitalism brought to the world was to validate greed. So the Eastern society, Eastern society is the society of religion, which means most of all the religions came from the Eastern world. So society of philosophers and thinkers. Western society, we don't think, we just act, we just do stuff, right? We come up with stuff. So we don't care about being selfless, we just care about being greedy, right? So capitalism was built fundamentally on greed. It had an important role it played in the development of humans, that because of capitalism, a lot of wealth was generated in the US and all over the world. That's not a complete system. So, and when you have something goes extreme, there is an opposing view. So that's why we have communism and Marxism and other opposing left views, and right views, left views. The truth is generally in the middle, which is we need to have a capitalism where we could be greedy in an enlightened way. It's not about, like, oh my gosh, like Bernie Sanders would come and say, if you're familiar with who Bernie Sanders is, if you're listening, he would say, "Oh, let's have socialism, socialistic democracy." The challenge is there are so many great things about Bernie. I love Bernie and his passion. He's an American politician. If you don't know, the idea is to lean way too much towards socialism. If you lean way too much towards socialism, there is not enough interest to do something that is beyond your capacity, beyond your perceived capacity. So, in other words, let me give you a classic example. Do you know which one is the most capitalist country in the world today? It's a weird question. What's your answer, Adam?
I think it's US.
I think it's China. Like the US is becoming a socialistic country. So if you deeply analyze, China is more capitalistic than US. It's so weird to think about it. Like if you look at it, US people are trying to embrace more and more socialism. In China, they found out a way to be capitalistic, to grow really fast, grow really intelligently with an authoritarian model. And I'm not going to discuss the geopolitics part of it, but the attention is this was supposed to be a communist country. This was supposed to be a leftist, extreme leftist country. Now that country, in literal reality, China is more capitalistic than US. For example, the coronavirus came. US print out money and gave to all the business owners. We pretend to be capitalistic, but in reality, we are capitalistic for the poor people and we are socialistic for the rich. This is what Martin Luther King said. He said, today's capitalism is capitalism for the poor people. For the poor people, it's a capitalistic country. For the rich people, it's a socialistic country. What does that mean? 2008, banks failed,
Yeah.
and here you go, banks. Here is $1 trillion. Keep it, because you are too big to fail. But my family is struggling. I don't have money to pay for rent. Who's going to help me? Oh, it's capitalism. We cannot help you. Do you see the challenge there? So there is socialism in the US, but the socialism is for the rich. And we want a social capitalism where each employer is paying, sincerely paying for the employees as a part of the profit share. Because if they are contributing to the growth of a company, they need to get a proper share of what they are doing. So every employer, I believe, this is an idealistic, almost utopian dream, but as at least like say 10, 20, 50 percentage of American companies who the CEO makes 350 times what the regular person is making, probably, right? Like high $350 million sometimes. Sometimes people making like enormous amount of money. There's nothing wrong with making a lot of money, as long as the regular folks who are working, they get the benefit of social capitalism. Rich people get it already. Right now, like coronavirus, a lot of corporations got money. Or all of the airlines got money. They got $50 billion. Healthcare, they got 50 plus billion dollars, serious money. But regular folks, they got $3,000, which is good. I'm happy that they did. But the point is, we need to have a new mode of capitalism. I believe in capitalism, allocation of capital to optimize profit, not just for you, Adam, not just for me, but for the entire company and entire group of people that are involved. That's how I see social capitalism. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it answers a lot of questions for me. Um, when you think about how everybody can implement a profit sharing mechanism into their companies, it's going to be hard for everyone, because it's not something that everybody thinks of. But if we can pull this off, I think it makes a lot of sense. It will bring in a lot of good
Can
side
I
of the
add one thing
capitalism.
there? Can I add one thing there?
Yeah,
If your employees have 10% profit share in your company, profit share, not loss share, profit share, if you actually make profit. So, which means that, do you think your employees will perform at least 10% better because of that, especially if they're actually getting the money?
definitely.
So, you basically made the money back, right? So, it's just a matter of us. like, oh my gosh, especially we complain about, I mean, you are from Kerala, people in India complain about the workforce being not efficient. Workforce sincerely want to be efficient, but as a collective we think, oh, what, our workforce is horrible anyway. If they go to other countries, they would work efficiently. That's not true. Everybody want to be happy and everybody want to contribute to a bigger cause, but we need to give them the opportunity to bring their best, because they need to feel that it's their company. It's their company. People are willing to be loyal, and there are people who are not loyal. You need to fire them, but generally speaking, people are loyal. Give them an opportunity to bring their best to the world by giving them a small percentage of your profit. Anyway, they have a family to take care of. You're going to be ultra wealthy. You are greedy. I want you to be greedy for you and your team and your community. Let's be greedy, but for the whole group of people around.
Yeah, I think we should put out a billboard saying that let's be greedy for everyone. Yeah, thank you for that. So my next question is regarding happiness. We are taking a detour over there
Okay.
from business to life. So how do you define happiness, and how do you stay happy in tough times?
This is another beautiful, weird question, and you're going to get a completely different answer than almost what everybody else is saying. I strongly believe that the species called humans, we came happy. We don't need to do anything to be happy. It feels so weird. Uh, but the truth is, imagine a baby born. When the baby is born, baby comes out crying because it needs to breathe. Once that is over, essentially it cries only for food, or if there is a physical pain. These are the two reasons that generally speaking the baby is crying for food, and if there is a physical pain. And it's normal for a human to cry when we have physical pain. And it's normal for a baby to cry when it needs food, right? So even food is a physical pain, like you're feeling a pain in your body. It's an urge that keeps us surviving, and that keeps us alive, because if we starve, if you don't have a sensation, then we are going to die. The challenge is that we humans, this is where you need to pay really close attention. As we grow, we figure out to cry for our psychological pain. That is it. So what is a psychological pain? Oh my gosh, my sister's husband has a much more expensive car. Oh my gosh, they have a car and I'm riding a bicycle. They have a job, they have more money, they have this thing, and all kind of things like that. It could be envy, it could be guilt. As in, I did this horrible thing when I was like 2 years old, and I cannot let it go. Or it could be shame that I'm not enough, and it could be shame of not being enough, or something else. So it could be guilt, shame, or envy, or some other similar emotion, which is a psychological pain, and we start crying for the psychological pain, which is depression, anxiety, sadness, and everything. And of course, because we are afraid of death, we cry when somebody die, which is normal, natural, because we come to this planet as a living cell, living organism. And when you feel that another organism with a life is getting, especially that is close to us, is moving on, it confuses us. So we will cry for that too, which is healthy for us to cry, and we should cry when we are sad. So the idea is not to pretend to be, pretend to be not sad. That's not the idea. The idea is for us to know in our heart that we came joyful to this world. Everything that we have other than joy is learned helplessness.
It's learned
So you
helplessness.
don't need to
Okay.
do anything to be happy. You're just happy by default. But if you want to expand your happiness, you could just sit and meditate and say, I'm just happy, and do things like that. And Hindus will call it, bhakti yoga, or bhakti yoga. Or you could do something do something fascinating to expand happiness, expand and share your happiness with others by doing some karma yoga, as it not from a bad deed elimination karma, but from a a group of things that accelerate your happiness. It's not because you're horrible, like three generations, 17 generation ago, you were a butcher and you killed oxes and and horses because that's what you did for living. That not that karma, but a karma
Mhm.
of expanding happiness that you already have with other people. I know this is not how most people say, but you know what, I'm going to be me.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
I think we are running out of time, so I just have one last question. It's it's a very abstract question. You can choose to answer it. If not, that's fine. Because I've been asking this question to many of my friends, and they just call me crazy. So the question is that um, what is the meaning of life? And yeah, what's the purpose of life?
Okay, I could give you a general meaning of life, and give you guidance on how to find meaning of your life. So, the general meaning of life is expansion of joy. So, if you're a business owner, and you might be wondering, why are we talking about joy as business people, right? When you are adding value to other people, you're giving joy to the world. You're expanding your joy. The biggest misconception is we are doing business so we could be joyful one day. That is the biggest thing. We are working really hard and studying so hard so we could be happy one day. We are trying to get in and become an IAS officer, so at that time you will be happy. Once one day when you become successful, you'll be happy. It goes to the same premise that we talked before. You're born happy. You don't know that. Most people don't know that because we forgot that we are a joyful creature. So the purpose of life, the way I see it, is expansion and acceleration of happiness. And how does that happen? It happens when we expand our consciousness. So what is consciousness? Consciousness has so many answers, so many definitions, but my simple definition for consciousness is meta thinking. Thinking about thinking goes back to the front part of your brain. Consciousness is being able to think about thinking, and you can think about thinking. You can think about thinking. You could think in like 7 dimension about thinking and be conscious, but that consciousness needs to expand, and that is how we expand joy in the world. That's the general purpose of human life, as I see it. It is not to resolve the you can get mad at me on the comment field. It's completely okay, and I accept you even with the comments. But it is not to resolve the karma from the last 7 centuries. What you did, I that is not true. It is not because you are imperfect and you need to break. You need to be purified. It is not because you are horrible and then you need to be saved, or it's not because you made so many mistakes and you're sent here to correct yourself. It's simply to share the pure joy that you have with the world and expand it. Specifically for you, Adam, uh, how you expand joy in the world, it's your meaning. That is not something that I could find for you. You need to find it. How you expand joy in the world, it's your thing. You follow your passion and expand the joy. I expand passion. I rarely get into this level of conversation because I try to stick with business, which is fine. I love you're asking me these questions, and if you ask me, I will give you an answer. So how you find your meaning is the way you expand joy in the world. That's your homework in this lifetime, to find that out. Something that, and you will feel naturally addicted to it. So it's a natural addiction. So whatever you are addicted to, in terms of your soul is addicted to, when you connect with your deeper soul, hey, this is how I want to expand joy in the world. And you try that, and after some time you're like, oh my gosh, this is not what it is. Okay, then try something else until it clicks for you, like, oh, this, and this, collectively, I could expand joy in the world. So purpose of human experience is to experience joy and experience it with others and accelerate the joy itself by expanding consciousness. Is that good? How does that
Yeah,
sound?
it answers. Yeah. I hope everybody can expand their joy and have a happy life and a meaningful life. So it was a very useful session for me to have a different perspective on all the questions that I have asked. I hope it was meaningful for everyone who was listening, and thank you for your time, and thank you for your wisdom.
Sure. Thank you, guys. Thanks for listening.
You had to go through some crazy experience in your life. I understand that, but you can change that today.